Hey.
Cash isn't here.
Yeah.
That's right, coward.
Yeah, that way he's not going to be chomping on our asses. So we can actually be ourselves for once.
Yeah. Hey, Mike. Yeah, it's my birthday today, so I don't think I'm gonna be on Pop Talk.
That should be the big reason why you should be on it. Come on. Celebrate with us, man. Come on, bring
the following
that shit
content contains adult language and humor that is not
what
suitable
happens
for
when
viewers
you're
under
not
the
here,
age of 18.
Cash.
Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions expressed during the following video content
18?
are those of the individual
over
and may not reflect those of others. Thank you.
Oh, we can't get
There,
Cash's
Orman
opinion
Tagge,
today.
Cashmoney007, PACIFIC414
Rob,
are here to bring
There
you
you go,
all
Jack.
the
Pacific
pop
414.
culture
Yeah,
and
that's right.
entertainment news.
That's right. He's
rumor,
not here. We're gonna mock him.
opinion, discussion, watch parties, reviews, reactions on Pacific 414 Pop
It's not a
Talk.
Pop Talk. He's just up there. He says it's his birthday. He wants to go swimming in his money bin.
Welcome,
Enjoying all his fortune on the day that he declared is his birthday. So he's not here. That's right, everybody. Cash money. He's not here.
How do we know? How do we actually know that this is his birthday? I think he's onto it.
I haven't seen his birth certificate.
Mm-hmm. That's from Florida.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's from Florida. I know that much. So.
Yeah, I've just made up my mind. I'm not going to be on Pop Talk because it's my birthday. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. It's from Hawaii. He's got a Hawaiian one. You know what I mean? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to go swim around in that money bin and use that large chin of his as a rudder so he could steer through all that money, all that loot.
But here we are giving him a ton of crap. I think we should be nice. Let's give him
no.
Let's give him birthday wishes here. Let me play it. Let's play some birthday wishes to our good friend and cohort, Scrooge McChin.
And we will all come together in a better place. A better place.
Whoa, that was abrupt.
Wow. Excuse us, folks. I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
You know what I gotta say? Beat you to it. Leave it to the old people.
Yeah, that young whippersnapper.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome one and all to this Cashless 007 episode of Pacific 414 Pop Talk. That's right, we have no cash, we have no credit. I mean, we didn't have any credit to begin with, but
no.
That's besides the point. But we are going to have fun at Cashmoney007's expense because that's just how it works here. If one of us isn't here, we have fun at their expense. How many times have you and Cash had fun at my expense, Baird? Yeah, yep. Go ahead and raise it. Go ahead and raise it. You know what? Go ahead and raise the flag.
Oh, wow, okay. Arr!
That's
Arr!
right. We may not have the booty, but that's okay, because it is a pirate edition of Pop Talk.
I like booty.
Cash Money was sent overboard.
He's in a dinghy.
He said it was his birthday, but I haven't seen that birth certificate.
Well, yeah, I mean, as that goes, I mean, I'm sure he'll show us that Hawaiian one.
Oh, yeah. You know what else he's going to say? I love it how even when I'm not on Pop Talk, people still talk about me. Well, of course, that's how we do it here.
That's the rule. How often do we talk about you when you're not here? You know?
Yeah,
Arr.
that's true. We rub our hands together. The devil hordes come out going, "Oh, Cash is in here," or you two go, "Oh, Mike is in here." I've been practicing my Megatron laugh. Excuse me, but it's just what we do here. You may be a co-host, I may be a host, but we laugh at each other's misery.
Mhm. We're not laughing with you.
We are laughing at you.
At you, right. And I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why, but young Paul wanted me to share this. I don't know. I think this is Cash having his birthday meal. Either that or Phil McCracken was really, really hungry.
Well, I tossed that in the garbage.
Mm. I mean, there we go.
Jeez.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. But speaking of saying hello to everybody, of course, the first one here was my co-host, who is going to join me in mocking Cashmoney007 during this episode. Baron Orman Tagge, who says, "No Cash, I am out of here." He is the chin and soul of Pop Talk. You're still here, Baron. You didn't leave.
Well, I have to play the music song. So, good night, everybody.
Okay. All right, folks. Of course, the next one to come in was Phil McCracken, who smashed the like button over on YouTube.
Of course he was. Of course he was. Yeah. He can't get enough of us. He's obsessed with us. He's obsessed with Cash's chin more than anything.
Yeah, he is, and so's Crit. They're jealous of the chin. Me, not so much.
No, not either. I like making fun of it, because I don't have one. That's why I have the beard. I got that.
And of course, we have Paul from Fandomology, who was our guest last week. He says, "I'm ready for this."
There we go.
And Phil McCracken is saying Dave Filoni was not George's first choice. He wanted Kennedy Tarkovsky from Samurai Jack, who did 2D Clone Wars. Phil, we'll get into the article.
Yeah.
We'll get into the article.
Yeah. And my take on it too.
Yeah.
I have a take. I have a take.
I'm not saying Dave Filoni is. I'm just taking what I read in the headline for Bound in the Comics and putting my own twist to it.
Right. We're just reporting the news.
Yeah.
Twisting it. We're spinning it to our direction. Because we're pirates, sir.
And Baron said, "Remember, everyone, it's the Chin's birthday today, so please send him birthday wishes. He is almost as old as Phil McCracken."
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be coming back and watching this because he's going to want to know how we're roasting him. So please, I'm sure he's going to see the chat. Please send well wishes in the chat for his birthday. Tell him what you really think.
And Paul's saying he's got something special for Cash when he does his Ahsoka stream /500 subscriber stream. And Paul, congratulations on reaching 500 subscribers.
Congrats, yeah.
No, we're not extra salty. We're not extra salty at all. It's just par for the course on Pop Talk. It's standard. One of us isn't here. The other two mock.
Why do you think I tried never to miss an episode?
Yeah,
I have a very, very sensitive.
It's true. Baron wasn't feeling well a few days ago, and I told him he didn't have to be on Sunday's Pop Talk. But he showed up because he didn't want to be mocked by Cash and I.
I'm feeling a lot better now, by the way. So
Good.
Yeah.
So no, Paul, we're not salty. We're just, giving Cash a hard time because we can.
Yeah.
Because, like Baron just said, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the clip. I mean, this is the opening monologue anyway. It's not scripted. None of this stuff is scripted here on Pop Talk. Why scripted? Why? Then you lose half the fun.
Then what? Then what
How
do you
many
send?
assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Then why do you send me that script in PDF form? I got it up here, right here. I've been reading it.
It wasn't me, Baron. I don't go by a script. I look at a script and I toss it out.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same
We're
way.
doing it live.
And here, to honor Cash being in the great CCP of California, happy birthday, Chin Man.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You're not here on Pop Talk, so we're gonna mock you.
And many more. And now we can get away with singing that song because that's open domain now.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, YouTube. Like I'm right here.
Paul says, "Hey, that was my idea."
Mm-hmm. Except I did this. I did all this morning. I got the timestamps and everything on Discord.
He does. He does.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, "What did I think of it?" I said, "I like it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How could I pass that up? You know.
It should have been gone, Kathy. It should still be there. And hello to Kathy Skywalker, by the way. I don't know what YouTube's doing.
Yeah, there we go.
YouTube.
What was it? Didn't Paul get a bunch of people? Then it dropped down. Now he's back to 5. I hope he's still at 5. But I know you and Cash.
Paul's still at 500. I did see that Paul was at 501, and then it went down to 500. I've noticed quite a few things have been happening where views have been taken away. At one point last Thursday's River City Girls stream with Cash and I had 85 views, and then they took 10 views away from that. My stream of The Messenger, part 2 of that, is down to 57 after getting up to 75 views. So YouTube, I am watching you. I am paying attention. I know I could send you a message. You're just going to deny it, but you are doing some shenanigans. Knock it off. Really, knock it off. Let your creators grow. Small channels, big channels, let them grow.
Set my people free.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's face it, Baron. You could look at your YouTube channel at one part during the day, and you can see a subscriber number, and then you look at it before you go to bed, especially after setting up a stream, and then you go, wait a minute, they took away 2, 3, 4, 5 subscribers. It's gotten old. I'm not giving up YouTube. I'm not giving up content creation, but it's getting old, and you know, Twitch isn't any better. You can get somebody that follows your Twitch channel as you're gaming, and then they unfollow. It's like, well, what's the point of hitting that follow button if it's going to be taken away?
Well, yeah. Check your subscriptions. If there's somebody you haven't seen in a while, better check your subscriptions and make sure they didn't take away. They've done that to me where it's like, wait a moment, I know I'm subbed to you, and I go in there. No, I'm not. I was. So even people we've had on the show are our own friends that we have on here. Except for Padawannabe, I'll never subscribe to him.
No, I'm not going to subscribe to Padawannabe unless I dare to eat a pack of 40-year-old gum.
Yeah, you do it the old-fashioned way.
He's done it. He's done it.
Come on, grease it.
And I do want to say hello to the Padawannabe, and I'm just referring to Pops' challenge where he has a pack of cards from the 80s, and Padawannabe has been the guinea pig to eat that 30 to 40-year-old gum in that pack.
And you know something? 30 years, 40 years old is still about the same freshness as when we first got him back then. I can attest.
That's true.
Yeah, they're the eternal stick, and they last 2 seconds of flavor. Two.
If even that, if you're
Mm.
lucky, you get 2 seconds. You could bite into those sometimes and go, "This has no flavor."
Mm-hmm. Because I remember getting those things, back in the day, 1977, 78, going down to when we had 7-Elevens. We don't have them here anymore. But, I bike down there on my little bike and go in there, open the thing up, and they'd be already broken in there. It's like several pieces. It's like, my God, how old are these? I don't think they're 40-year-old. I think they were 40-year-old back then. They're probably 80 now. I think that's the stuff they were giving the soldiers at D-Day.
And Kathy's saying 40-year-old gum. Yeah. These are, the sticks of gum that you would get in, baseball cards or Topps movie cards, depending on the movie, like Tron or Jurassic Park, Ninja Turtles, whatever movie it was tied into. You'd get that stick of gum where you'd have to break it up in order to put it in your mouth sometimes. And even that wasn't easy because of how hard that gum was.
Lost a few teeth doing that. I think it was planned that way.
And Padawannabe says, no subbies, but it didn't kill me. I'll admit it. It was my idea about the gum. Love y'all. I know it was. It's just I'm watching it and going, oh God, I hope he doesn't get sick.
I knew he wouldn't because, like I said, I think they're 80-year-old things of gum. I mean, these things were like old when we got them back then. Old, and it's. I mean, I just don't know what to say. It's just like, 2 bites. He did Return of the Jedi. Okay. Do they even have them with gum anymore?
I haven't bought a pack of cards in quite some time.
I mean, the last time I was doing it, they didn't have it. There was like the widescreen Star Wars, the movie cards and stuff like that. And of course, in like the Decipher game cards, which obviously wouldn't have that. But when it comes around to actual cards, I haven't bought cards like that in ages.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I purchased the plastic sleeves to even put the cards that I have in, just to keep them organized. Because no shock to anybody who's watched PACIFIC414 on YouTube long enough. No shock. I used to buy baseball cards, but I used to buy basketball cards too, especially back in the 90s.
I never did. Never liked.
I mean, I still have my folders of cards. Some of them are signed from going to the hotel where the Cubs were staying at in San Diego when they would come to San Diego, and getting the various players to sign the cards as they would get off the bus, or having a baseball for them to sign if I couldn't get the signatures while at the game. If my friends and I or my parents had the time to drive down to the hotel that the Cubs were staying at, stand there, wait for them to come, and get the autographs. I mean, I can remember waiting till after a 15-inning game between the Cubs and Padres and waiting for Ryan Sandberg. And, I'm there. I'm starting to fall asleep. And my mom's there, and a couple of friends of hers were there too because they were at the game and they came with us to the Sheraton. And I'm starting to doze off, and my mom's like, Michael, isn't that Rhino? And I perk up real quick, and he's going down to the hallway, so I almost missed him. I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Sandberg. And I asked him to sign a book. And he wasn't like, well, could you please sign my book? And he stopped, and we actually had a nice conversation for a little bit. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because back in 2011, I go to a Norfolk Tides game, and at that time, Ryan Sandberg was the AAA manager of the Phillies AAA affiliate, the Iron Pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So he's coming out of the dugout and he's signing autographs. Of course, it's Cub fans, it's baseball fans waiting there for him. He gets to me. He looks at me and he says, "Have I met you before?" And I said, "Yes, sir. A few years ago in San Diego." So I was thinking, "Holy shit, he remembered me." I mean, here I am. I'm older and I've got facial hair, but he remembered me.
He's like, oh, here comes that little twerp.
No,
now he's a big twerp. No, I'm kidding.
No, it wasn't like that. And I just told him thank you for signing my book that night. And I live here on the East Coast now, and I just saw that you were going to be here, and wanted to see you. He said, "Well, thank you very much."
Thank you very much.
And the reason I bring that up because, growing up and becoming a Cub fan, it was Ryan Sandberg who helped get me interested into the Cubs by watching him play second base. The other part of it was my friends who were originally from Chicago. My friends who had parents who, one was a White Sox fan and the other was a Cub fan, and through them I became a Cubs fan because back in that time period you had WGN across the nation, so you could watch a Cubs game during the day, and then say for you, Baron, you could watch the Twins at night. So that's the thing about fandom. Whether you like particular players or like particular franchises, it creates a lasting memory when you're able to, meet your hero. And Ryan Sandberg was my hero, and it wasn't one of those things where you're always told never meet your heroes. It wasn't like that. It was more like he took the time to stop, sign the autograph, and actually have a conversation. So I'll never forget that, because you don't get that opportunity every time you meet a player, because there have been some Cubs in the past who I've been there for autographs and they've given people attitude. It's like, okay, dude, but we're paying your salary.
Right.
So I know I've probably bored people with that story, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. But, that's just one of my lasting memories, and I'll never forget it. But for this edition of Pop Talk, we are going to talk about an article from Bounty in the Comics, and it says, despite Lucasfilm claiming Dave Filoni is George Lucas' apprentice, Lucas said he was not mentoring anyone to take over Star Wars. We also have an article from comicbook.com that says Underworld director confirms franchise franchise reboot is still being developed. And we also have one from Cosmic Book News that says Daredevil Born Again, a scam, claims original showrunner Steven DeKnight. Another story that we have for this evening is New York City Comic Con. Funko Pop confirms one villain for X-Men 97. And if we get to these two articles on the YouTube side before we go to the hour on Rumble, it'll be an article from Screen Rant talking about the 10 best Star Trek original series episodes to hook new fans.
Actually, it was a pretty good article from them for once. Pretty good.
Good. And we also have one from The Guardian, and it's Roger Whittaker's obituary. So
Roger Whittaker. You know, and what's nice about not having cash around here, we are a little bit more free. We're a lot looser. We're a lot more relaxed. We don't have to worry about hearing.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Every 3 seconds.
yeah, that's true. Phil, check your baseball standings because the White Sox suck.
Yeah, but they sure know how to smuggle those pistols in, I tell you.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Woo! On the south side of Chicago is the worst team in the league. No, sorry.
So let's go ahead and get into our first article. And that is going to be about Dave Filoni.
Filoni.
There we go.
Where's his hat? Have you noticed? Look how red his eyes are. He must have distant geef.
Yeah, when I saw this picture, I'm going, hey, man.
Well, not only that, he's looking more and more like Pablum Hidalgo, too. It's like...
Yeah, Dave, well, whether you're smoking a blunt or if you're drinking before you go to these convention appearances, you might want to relax on that because cameras nowadays can pick up pretty much everything.
Well, there's those brownies. Yeah, he was probably hanging out with Harrison Ford.
Hey, Dave, try this. You're going to try this. You're going to like it, okay? So we have this article. It was posted on the 18th. It's written by John F. Trent. And I'm going to go ahead and get into the article since I've already mentioned the headline. And it starts off like this. Lucasfilm and Star Wars recently released a featurette highlighting their latest Disney Plus series, Ahsoka, in which Jon Favreau makes the claim that Dave Filoni is George Lucas' apprentice. Listen here, Dave. You're not my apprentice, okay? I hate to break it to you, but you're not my apprentice. All right? In the clip, Favreau recalls that George Lucas made a set visit to The Mandalorian, saying George visited the set when we were filming the lightsaber fight in the Japanese garden in season 2, and I think he was really encouraging of Dave, stepping up to his role. And so George would turn to Kathy and myself and be proud of Dave, he continued. He was Dave's teacher, and Dave was his apprentice. Well, he probably just told him what he needed to know for the Clone Wars as far as what can and cannot happen in the Star Wars universe. Of course, we know how that's gone. Interestingly, Lucas does not make any comments in this short video, but instead Favreau speaks for him. The reason for that is because Lucas probably would never describe Filoni as his apprentice. Back in the early 2000s, while discussing The Revenge of the Sith with CNN, Lucas made it abundantly clear there was no one going to take over from him when it came to theatrical releases. When asked if he wanted Star Wars to continue after his life, Lucas responded, No. I've worked it out to where when I do it in terms of films that I'm doing, this will be the last. The next film, 3, will be the last film, and it'll be a 6-part series, and that'll be the end of it. Unfortunately, George, we all know that Disney just keeps throwing it out there and hoping that something's going to stick. He was then asked if he was mentoring someone to take over for him. Lucas replied, No. There are many other venues for it, but not in the theatrical release. But for sort of offshoot stories and things in other areas, but not in theatrical films. I just want to keep that special. I don't want to have it sort of turn into Star Trek. You know, he's not wrong, though.
I know he's not. Lucas is looking better. It looks like he lost some weight.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Lucas would release the animated Star Wars The Clone Wars film by Dave Filoni to theaters. Yes, but the whole concept of it was by George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it came out in theaters. That's why it came to fruition, because of George Lucas. None of Star Wars, even Disney Star Wars, happens without George Lucas.
Right.
He told Entertainment Weekly at the time that the film was actually originally supposed to be an animated series. He said, "You know, the Clone Wars movie was almost an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing the TV series, and looked at some of the episodes on the big screen and said, this is so beautiful. Why don't we just go and use the crew and make a feature?" So we did.
Well, he's
However,
absolutely right. It was eye candy. There's no doubt about
Mhm.
that. It was eye candy.
Yeah. However, he also made clear that he had no intention of returning to feature films, telling EW, no more, no more. I mean, except for this kind of stuff, which is sort of spin-offs of TV shows. Obviously, Lucas' intentions would change when he sold Lucasfilm to the Walt Disney Company back in 2012, when it was announced the company would be making 3 more feature films.
Mhm.
Lucas said at the time, "We've got a plan for 7, 8, and 9," which this guy right here looked at it
Yeah.
and threw it in the garbage.
Yeah. Duck you.
Duck Disney.
Duck Disney. Fisney. Duck Fisney. And Iger.
Mm-hmm.
Igor.
We got
Bob
yes,
Igor.
master. Yes, master. We've got a plan for 7, 8, and 9, which is the end of the trilogy and other films also. So we have a large group of ideas and characters and books and all kinds of things. We could go on making Star Wars for the next 100 years. Well,
Yeah.
Disney took that and said, "Oh, just throw everything into the pot.
Mhm.
Everything. All the ingredients." But wait. You don't want to throw everything in all at once. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, I'm biting my tongue until the end of it because I got several things to say about this.
Okay.
But if I started saying stuff, no, we would never get through this article. I'd be like Cash, and every 3 seconds you'd be hearing.
You know what really grinds my gears?
And I don't want to be like Cash. You know, these people. I'm sorry, I did it. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, Baron. But
Mm-hmm.
what is with these people? I'm trying to do my best Cash impression. I'm
What's
just
with
not
these
tired
people?
enough.
I just got up and yeah, it's like, yeah, for some reason there's a keyboard key pressed on my cheek. I gotta get that out. I'll be right back. I gotta do dishes too.
I gotta go to Whole Foods and get some kale.
And tofu. Kale and tofu. Yeah. He makes a mean kale wrap tofu dish. He really does. I guess he puts a little teriyaki in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask him about it.
Yeah.
So the article goes on to say, however, Lucas would be quickly sidelined and his plans for the next trilogy would be purchased by the Walt Disney Company and never see the light of day. The Walt Disney Company CEO, Bob Iger, wrote in his book, The Ride of a Lifetime, lessons learned from 15 years as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Well, you might as well add a few more years, Bob.
Yeah.
Might as well change the title of that book, Bob.
Like Bob the Destroyer.
At some point in the process, George told me that he had completed outlines for 3 new movies. He agreed to send us 3 copies of the outlines, one of me, one for me, sorry, one for Alan Braveman, and one for Alan Horn. How many Allens can you have on a company payroll?
Oh. Hi, my name is Bob. This is my brother Al. This is my other brother Al.
Who'd just been hired to run our studio, Alan Horn, and I read George's outlines and decided we needed to buy them, though we made clear in the purchase agreement that we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot lines he laid out. Well, see that's where George failed.
Yep.
He should have made them contractually obligated to follow those guidelines.
Exactly. I'm out.
Iger would then reveal the future of Star Wars would not be beholden to George Lucas. He knew that I was going to stand firm on the question of creative control, but it wasn't an easy thing for him to accept. And so he reluctantly agreed to be available to consult with us at our request. I promised that we would be open to his ideas. This was not a hard promise to make, of course. We would be open to George Lucas's ideas, but like the outlines, we would be under no obligations. Then why have him as a consultant if you're not even going to take his ideas into consideration, his thoughts into consideration?
Yeah, they already said right in there, we don't want Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
We want to turn this into ours.
Gosh, that's the look of someone you cannot trust.
No.
From there, the CEO explained how they had their own vision for Star Wars and how Lucas felt betrayed. The truth was, Kathy, JJ, Allen, and I had discussed the direction in which the saga should go, and we all agreed that it wasn't what George had outlined. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything, but he thought that our buying the story treatments was a tactic promise that we'd followed, and he was disappointed, and his story was being discarded. Iger added, I've been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way. I don't believe that for a second.
Bullshit. Well, we got something for that. George, what do you have to say?
I call bullshit. I call bullshit. I call bullshit.
There, he gets the triple bullshit.
And I do want to say hello to Godzillionaire, who says at this point, Iger is Captain Ahab chasing the white whale. Mm-hmm. Well, and about as well, yeah, he's destroying the Walt Disney Company. And I also want to say hello to Bucky's Crafty. I mostly ask people to consult for them to tell me I'm smart. Look at me, I'm SMRT.
Yay!
All right, so anyways, he said I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way, and I didn't think I had now, but I could have handled it better. I should have prepared him for the meeting with JJ and Michael and told them about our conversations, that we felt it was better to go in another direction. I could have talked through this with him and possibly avoided angering him by not surprising him. So you were never going to do that, Bob. Come on.
Never. No. You weren't, you old slimy son.
You worm.
Yeah.
He then revealed, now in the first meeting with him about the future of Star Wars, George felt betrayed. And while this whole process would never have been easy for him, we'd gotten off to an unnecessarily rocky start. Yeah, you started it, Bob. Every problem that Disney has now, including your problem with George Lucas, with George feeling betrayed, you started it. You threw in that first log into the fire. You lit the match.
And quit trying to use JPEG as your scapegoat. Quit trying to use JPEG as your scapegoat. This is all you're doing all the way across the board.
And I like what Bucky says here. This guy wrote a series that made billions. I'm not going to follow his story. Yeah, pretty much.
The age of Lucas is over.
Lucas shared his thoughts on Disney rejecting his story ideas, speaking with Vanity Fair in 2015. The issue was ultimately they looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. People don't actually realize it's actually a soap opera and it's all about family problems. It's not about spaceships. So they decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to do their own thing. So I decided, fine.
I'll watch you burn.
He would then do a sit down interview with Charlie Rose where he described the Walt Disney Company as white slavers. And of course, I have to click here. He said, I sold them to the white slavers that takes these things and they destroy them. They destroy them. I hate to break it to folks, but Disney does take properties that isn't theirs and they destroy them. They originally bought Marvel so they can get into the boys market. Star Wars so they can get into the boys market. And what have they done? They've destroyed it.
Yeah. They've been trying to push the boys out of it.
Mm-hmm. He would also discuss the outlines he sold to Disney for the sequel trilogy. They looked at the stories. They said, we want to make something for the fans. They decided they didn't want to use those stories. I know I already read that. I'm sorry, but that's just how I can pick up where I was last at. He added,
read that.
All right, Baron. They weren't that keen to have me involved anyway, but if I get in there, I'm just going to cause cause trouble. Yeah, George, cause trouble. Yeah, cause it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it, George.
Offer to
George, what are you doing?
Offer $2 billion and get it back and have a $2 billion $2 billion. Yeah, come on, George, do it. Do it. Come on.
Yeah, they weren't gonna have me involved anyway. But if I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do, and I don't have the control to do that anymore. And all I would do was muck up everything. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You would be the parent who's trying to teach and trying to show them how your universe works. You know, you don't just go up to an old car engine and think you can work on that old car engine like you would a modern day engine that has chips associated with its inner workings. No, there's intricate, detailed work that you have to do to get an older engine to work properly, an older car to work properly, unlike modern cars that do rely heavily on computers.
Right.
And so I said, okay, I will go my way and I'll let them go their way. Well, I'll say it. It was a mistake.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah. More recently, Lucas made it clear he was not involved in the direction that Star Wars is taking. I don't know. I mean, I've kind of lost control of Star Wars, so it's going off in a different path, which is this video right here, and what he intended. And what do I make of Lucasfilm and Disney attempting to put Dave Filoni on a pedestal? I'm not surprised. I'm really not.
No. That's the end. Trent did another great article. I do like Trent. I do like Trent's articles. Okay. George Lucas has been a flim-flam man himself, to be honest. He says something, then he will come out and say he never said it. He was saying that this is going to be back in the day, this is going to be a 9-part saga where, once we get done with Return of the Jedi, we're going to go to the first trilogy, and then we're going to finish it off because by that time, the actors will have caught up a little bit in the age, and we'll do the latter. And then he thought, no, I never said I was going to do 9. I was only going to do 6. And then it was in the air if he was even going to do the first 3. And he was always back and forth on that. So a lot of times you got to take what George says with a bit of a grain of salt because he could be all over the place depending on his whim and how he's feeling. and how he's feeling he's being treated. With that said, I wouldn't doubt if he was grooming Filoni, but again, in the area, like he was saying, not the films, but stuff like the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's people out there that are the never Filoni people, and he does get some unfair flack. They start going after him because of Ahsoka. They go after him about this and that. But the thing is as they always sit back and say, George comes down from on high and says, I want to see this. Do this. Ahsoka was his idea. He said, I want to have Anakin have a Padawan.
Mm-hmm.
Make it happen. And they came up with the character. Now everybody, including Filoni, it seems like, believes that he was the originator of Ahsoka. No, that was George.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the concepts and ideas in the Clone Wars came straight from on high. And not only that, his own daughter, I believe, wrote and directed episodes of the Clone Wars. She was somehow involved with several episodes of the Clone Wars series.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you still had a Lucas hand in there, which makes people wonder, was she getting interested in maybe taking over her father's legacy? Who knows? Now, I know George got a lot of flack for the prequel, and he got a lot of righteous flack for some of the stuff he did with it. Right. And again, it was coming from criticism. They want to sit back and say it's toxic, but the fans were expressing what they thought was wrong with it. And George does not take kindly to criticism. He made that known by the time Return of the Jedi came about. And at that time, his soon-to-be ex-wife was off the project. I think she did come back and help out a little bit, but Gary Kurtz, who was a man who was keeping Lucas at least somewhat, balanced in what he was doing with both Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. But when he wasn't able to get through to Lucas, because Lucas turned into this capitalist monster that he wants to seem to attack himself. But if you want to see the Trade Federation, George Lucas is it. It's like he was, so people attribute that George was saying that he was, he wasn't a filmmaker, he was a toy maker. Actually, I think that came from Gary Kurtz was making a comment about George, because we see some of the concept they had for Return to the Jedi, far better ideas that they had on there. But he wanted to have Ewoks to sell Ewoks, and that's the hardcore fact. This was where he's making his money. Merchandising. Which is why, of course, Mel Brooks was doing such a great job making fun of that in there. And George, I think, thought that Star Wars was dead. Everybody was thinking Star Wars was dead by the time 85 came around and in 86. And that's why West End Games was able to get the IP for the role-playing game so good. It was at such a good price. It's like, oh, who wants to play a Star Wars role-playing game? It started up the fire, and before you know it, then Tim Zahn and Dark Horse Comics coming out with Dark Empire and Heirs of the Empire. It starts the flames going, and people want to sit back and say he was not involved in the EU. Lucasfilm wasn't. They were. If you open up those books, Lucy Wilson, I believe her last name was Wilson, but I know first name was Lucy. She's always thanked in it because she's the person everyone was going to. They'd ask questions, they go to her, then she'd go to George. George would sometimes even talk with the authors beforehand. Tim Zahn had a nice meeting with George Lucas before he did the Heir of the Empire books. George Lucas even made it known he preferred the Dark Horse Comics Dark Empire over Heir to the Empire. He thought that was closer to his vision. Yeah. Obviously, and you can see that with Revenge of the Sith, with the bringing back life and all that. And he wasn't against the idea of the Emperor coming back as a clone, and that was in some way lessening the story or watering down the story. But when it comes to it, he had a hard time trying to figure out, because Irvin Kershner, who was his teacher, he didn't feel he had full control over Empire Strikes Back, which in many ways, yeah, you're right. You gave it to another director. And this is the film that is hailed by most fans as the best Star Wars film that came out, which I'm sure hurt his ego a little bit. But it took into, but Kirshner, who was very respectful to the property, was able to make a go and even made Star Wars even more popular because of that.
Yeah.
His big problem with the prequels was he had yes men. Rick Berman, not Rick Berman, sorry. That's Star Trek. I'm trying to remember the guy that was kept on running around as his executive producer. But it was basically yes men. There was nobody there reining in saying, George, tone back Jar Jar. It's not a bad character. Just tone it back. And keep this Obi-Wan all the way up to a certain point. All you need was a few changes in Phantom Menace, and it wouldn't have gotten as much heat. But it's amazing. For the heat it was getting, people were still going back and watching it. I saw it 3 times in the theater.
Yeah, I saw Revenge of the Sith 3 times myself.
Right. So, I mean, Phantom Menace, the one that's detracted, it kept me enough going in there. And talking with someone who was involved with Lucasfilm before the movie came out, he goes, I'm very scared about the fan reaction because the fans are expecting one thing and they're going to be getting another thing. And that would, and he was absolutely right. Everyone was thinking, and again, this was fan-based expectations. Not what Lucasfilm was trying to tell them, but they were expecting right away that you'd be seeing all these big battles with all the Jedi's back and forth. There's going to be a big blowout like Revenge of the Sith, or even Attack of the Clones towards the end there. But no, it was more of a quieter story. It was the setup, and the fact that he had those treatments, it was going there, and he thought the handshake agreement was going to be good enough because that's the type of man he was. He trusted Steven Spielberg, saying, Disney's okay. They're good people to work for. Well, now even Steven Spielberg has a horrible taste in his mouth. And that girl that was running around grabbing the coffee, was put in charge of Lucasfilm. I mean, if really, honestly, if Filoni was truly the heir apparent to Star Wars, George would have insisted that Filoni take that spot, not Kathleen Kennedy.
I mean, if Disney wasn't such a poison, I'm saying they're a poison, then Steven Spielberg would have been the one directing the last Indiana Jones movie,
right?
Dial of Destiny, instead of someone else.
Exactly, and that's just it. She worked with both Spielberg and Lucas. They thought she was trustworthy, that she would be, would honor what she was working on for so many years. And she backstabbed both of them.
Yeah.
She backstabbed them both. And all of those statements. And when you sit back and say that we're going to go a different direction what George intended, you have just destroyed your property. This isn't Marvel, where you have many creators getting involved and bringing in new superheroes and new supervillains, right? I mean, you have your core thing. But still, I mean, Jack Kirby invented and brought in these characters. Other people brought in others. So, I mean, it was a giant melting pot. Lucas is different because this is his vision from beginning to end. Not even Gene Roddenberry can say that about Star Trek.
No. I mean, Lucas's vision is a recipe.
Right.
He had specific ingredients listed for this recipe, and the amount of said ingredients that go into making the Star Wars souffle, as I'm going to call it.
Oh, you mean Star Trek souffle?
Well, for George Lucas.
Star Wars. George. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, George specifically. I mean, when you take a look at his desk when he's doing stuff, you can see the guidebooks that were done by people, the Star Wars universe or the encyclopedia, the 3 encyclopedia set, like I got, I consider that my drawer. I mean, he's got those things on the desk because he uses it to see where, because his universe is so big, and he has a final say, but he is a bit respectful to the creators that came in too. I mean, even though he wanted to change the name Coruscant, he didn't like the name Coruscant. And that was his fault too, because he should have insisted, no, you should call it Hab Abaddon, like I was envisioning it for Return of the Jedi. He was wanting to change it for Phantom Menace, but that was actually one of the times someone did talk him off the ledge and say, no, it's too ingrained. Coruscant which was actually being called Coruscant at the time. He goes, okay, fine, we're going to call it Coruscant. Well, okay, fine. The two different pronunciations. It's like north and south. It's a water or water. It's it's a big galaxy. You're going to have different flight takes of a name where you can write that off. But for a man who insisted that he was such a big Star Wars fan, JJ failed.
Mm-hmm.
For he was saying about how he was such a big Star Wars fan, blah blah blah, which gave somewhat false hope that he might be respectful. And
I'll admit it, I bought a hook, line, and sinker when I found out that we were going to get a 7th Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic, and I was optimistic, cautiously. But I also know that when you're trying to take something that has organically grown for, at that time, about 35 years, right? And you're talking about an entire Marvel run of 106 issues of comics. You had the daily Star Wars Han Solo series. You had the L. Neil Smith Lando Calrissian's 3-book series. You had Splinter of a Mind's Eye. All that stuff building up, along with Droids. Of course, the 3 movies. Right there, we're already getting a huge universe getting built. Mm-hmm. And then, whoa, here we come, 1987. West End Games expands so greatly with that their role-playing game supplements were, again, guidebooks for writers. Because they were putting names to species and characters and such. We didn't know what Greedo's race was until the Galaxy Guide #1 came out, and they called it. Well, actually, when the first book came out, the role-playing game, they call them Rhodians. It's like, what the hell is a Rhodian? But and up until 1987, we never knew what these species were called. West End Games started adding to it, and George was respectful to that. When he had the Clone Wars, they were called Rhodians. And which happened to be his favorite alien, by the way.
He didn't toss it out by going, no, they're not called Rhodians, they're called this.
Right. Now, he had the final say on some stuff, and some stuff he chose not to go with, per se, with the EU. But other than that, he was very respectful to the EU. It was a big enough sandbox that he knew it. And if he did his if he was in charge of the last 3 films, that would have thrown things higgly-piggly with the EU post Return of the Jedi. It depends on which point of the Return of the Jedi. I probably might have liked it a little bit better because I never liked the Vong. I never liked the fact they killed Chewbacca in the EU. I think that was the wrong character. If they were wanting to kill a major character to show the impact, it should have been Han, because of how Harrison Ford was, and the impact would have been even greater.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm not against killing off characters if it's done right and for a purpose. I think Chewbacca was just too much of a heart. They should never have gotten rid of Chewbacca, and it should have been Han.
Yep, and I like what Bucky's saying here. With the old media that's being continued, I think it's so important to get people that are really passionate about what they do and the fandom they're continuing. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who,
Right.
if it's, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You get people who are passionate about it, who know the stories from the comic books, and they have an idea for adapting those stories into live action media.
Right. And it seems like more and more as we go along every day, it's like, I go on Wikipedia and they have their little polls on there. And the new universe done by Disney, especially the last 3 films, is getting less and less credibility from the fans in there. Like they'll have their little poll things in there. And, and now it's like Ray Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they screwed that. It would have been better if it was Ray Nobody. Honestly. And that's not an insult, because then she would truly been every woman, every person, right? If she was Ray Nobody. But no, let's make her, a daughter of a clone of Palpatine. She's a Palpatine. She's not a Skywalker.
Ray Skywalker. That's right. I just annexed the name.
Right. She is not a Skywalker. Nowhere's along the way did Luke say, "Hey, you're my girl." No. I mean, they wanted to try whatever to give us some credence. Of course, that last film was such a freaking mess. I don't even remember half of that thing because it's such a disjointed piece of crap.
The last time I watched any of the sequel trilogy was each time it came out on home video. I haven't watched any of them since.
Well, I've seen The Force Awakens. I saw that twice, I think, in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was enough for me to be intrigued to come back and see, okay, where are we going with this exactly, right? And it's like, all this is you just copy pasting A New Hope. Come on, be a little more. I was expecting a little more creativity from you. I never saw Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker in the theater. The last Star Wars film I saw in the theater was actually Solo, which I thought was pretty good. I consider it apocrypha Star Wars storytelling, tall story in the Star Wars universe, not to be taken serious in the continuity. But I mean, I remember I only saw Last Jedi once, and I can't see it again. If I want to live and not have a heart attack or aneurysm or stroke, I'm not going to watch it again because of how horrible it is. I mean, yeah, I'm sure people say, well, it was a good film. It might have been a good film, but it wasn't good Star Wars.
No. And I do want to say hello to Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective, who adds here, would have been better if it was Ray Bo Bright.
Yeah. And I only saw Rise of Palpatine once. And like I said, I don't even remember half of it. It was just a disjointed blah thing. And it's like, let's have member berries. And that's all these properties are now. It's member berries. Every time I turn around and see something.
That's what season 3 of Picard was. Member berries. Oh, remember the Enterprise D, everyone? Remember the saucer section?
Well, and they're doing it with Strange New Worlds. So it's like I'm seeing, look at all the Easter eggs they have in this episode. And it's like, it's not Easter egg. It's a member berry. Easter eggs are sparingly used. And usually it has more care or purpose behind it.
Except for nowadays, with all these TV shows that are coming from existing franchises, where they go, just throw in something that the fans remember from this old show that really is unwatchable according to certain websites. When they refer to the original series of Star Trek being unwatchable, Screen Rant comes to mind. And yes, we do have an article from Screen Rant, which, Baron, you did say was actually a good article for once.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually, I breezed through it. I'm sure they have their bullshit in there, but I mean, overall, what they had for picks is like, I really can't argue. I mean, I would probably made a couple of changes here and there, but it's like, okay, this one's actually pretty good. With the original series.
So,
but them trying to turn Kirk into, well, we can talk about that when we get to that article.
We're gonna go to that article.
Oh, next. We are okay. Well, okay.
That was my segue into it. So
I thought we were going to be talking about that later. So okay. So great.
No. Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about it now.
Okay.
That's right. I said, I ain't giving you no tree fitty, you goddamn Loch Ness monster. Get your own goddamn money.
I gave him a...
Wait a moment. That's a wrong segue. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. That's because Cash is not here to keep us in line.
I don't need Cash to keep me in line.
Cash Money, savior of the Chiniverse. See what I did there? See.
Money's alive?
Money's alive. Yeah, he's somewhere in his money bin.
Somewhere in his money bin, being guided by his chin.
Yep.
Through his massive fortune. So let's go ahead and get to this.
Yeah, let's bring this up from Screen Rant. Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of went in and found it in the Screen Rant because usually Because I got the micro squish stuff that pops up, and they always use Screen Rant all the time. So
yeah, they do. They do.
I don't know. It's like
And a lot of the articles I see from Screen Rant, I go, no, but
no.
I'm trusting you, Baron. I'm trusting you, but you know what happens if this article turns out not to be what you say it is.
Well, yeah.
Sure. Just cut.
He said, "Today is a good day to die."
I did
The
not.
Klingon Empire will remember what has happened here. You have sided against us in battle, and this we do not forgive or forget.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Now, remember, I said it looked fairly good, so I'm not giving high praise yet. I like to breeze through and not get into the crux because that way we have more of an opportunity to talk about it honest from our heart. But
Yeah,
from what I was skimming across, for once it actually looked like a somewhat decent article. Was it Rachel Holsholt? I think we've read her crap before. So let's see
I think we have, but that's how I do Pop Talk in general. When I see an article, I'll read a little bit of it, but I try to save all my thoughts fresh for the Wednesday edition or the Sunday edition. I don't want to read all the way through an article and have my thoughts already made up.
Right.
It's just something I've done ever since the box score. So okay, I'm going to watch the game and I'm going to give my own opinion about what happened in the game.
That's why we got the stuff for we got good stuff for the Rumble site. Don't worry about it. But yeah, we're working on that shadow ban.
And yes, folks, we will be going to Rumble in the next hour. So if you want to join us, I will make sure that the link to Rumble is included before we go.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I think we're all kind of migrating over there with having some of our stuff over there. And but we're not abandoning YouTube fully yet.
No. I'm not abandoning YouTube. I'm not abandoning Kick. I'm not abandoning Twitch. I'm just having multiple outlets to get my content out there.
I'm not abandoning Kick or Twitch, but then again, I'm not part of them. So they're
So we have this article from Screen Rant that says 10 best Star Trek original series episodes to hook new fans.
And everybody else.
I am gonna say one thing because I did look at a couple of episodes, but one thing I would have added because it's what got me hooked. I didn't need 10 episodes, just one, and that was Tomorrow's Yesterday.
Right. And people in the chat, please, all of you, give when we go through here, let us know your opinion. Especially knowing liking Star Trek and all that. Well, what you think might be, because there's episodes that I have in mind that I think should have been on that list. But let's go to it. Let's go. Okay, Rachel, let's see if you can redeem yourself. I think she's the one that did that stupid Star Trek 2 thing.
It was either her or there's so many bad takes when it comes to Star Trek 2 that I've seen already.
Well, the thing is Paramount is trying so hard to demonize James T. Kirk. They want they're doing everything they can to slight Kirk and, for that matter, Shatner. And it's like, excuse me, Kirk. If you didn't have James T. Kirk or William Shatner, we wouldn't have Star Trek today.
That's true.
But let's go to it.
And Pat Wannabe says, I did not know titles well enough to even get 10 episodes. Well, you might recognize some of these episodes, Pat Wannabe.
Or you can sit back and say the episode they had this. Hey, we're not the snotty little Trekkers out there with their noses in the air. I'm a Trekkie where we have fun.
Yeah. I've always considered myself a Trekkie, not a Trekker.
I was forced to have to call myself a Trekker because, when I was in Fandom, that's when they were getting their noses out. You get the press when they say it. They're so mean when they say Trekkie and they make it sound like blah, blah. We're Trekkies, okay? Okay?
And this seems like a backhanded compliment, at least in my opinion. Star Trek:
Mhm.
The Original Series may feel dated in some ways. It's not dated. The concepts still remain the same today.
Hmm.
They're still relevant today.
Right. I think. Well, I think when it goes along, I'll explain a little bit more as we go along
I
with
know,
the
I
story
know.
about what that Dean part. But yeah, I know what you mean. That gets to be a tiring bullshit thing. But go on.
And I want to say, roll tide, Killy Chow. Good to see you, brother.
Roll Tide. Did I do it good? Did I do it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Star Trek: The Original Series may feel dated in some ways, but there are 10 episodes that should hook even the most skeptical new fans. Despite the dated elements, Star Trek: The Original Series is still worth watching for its captivating stories, compelling characters, and low budget charm. It was the 60s. All the shows were on a particular budget. They all pretty much had the same quality. Doesn't matter if it was Batman, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched,
Hmm.
Mission
See,
Impossible.
mhm. And they did actually have a good budget. But the thing is where you're doing a show where you're going from planet to planet, you have to invent new things every week. So you got to running sometimes to cheap and do it fast, and that's what you had for episodic TV. Remember, they had
Mhm.
like 26 or plus episodes for a season. They had more than the usual season that we have today. Or
29
29. Thank you.
episodes.
Yeah, close to 30. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if they're counting the menagerie as one episode, like the guides do. They always want to have it as one episode. It's like, no, it's two episodes. It's a
Yeah.
part one and part two. So I'm quick to say maybe it's 30 episodes if you want to be honest about it. But when you're doing 30 episodes, 30 weeks in a year out of 52, they were doing a damn good job, especially for the day. It's like, get your head out of your CGI bullshit world
Hmm.
and start looking at what was out there, what they were going against. Uh, 3 seasons of Lost in Space. Uh, Even stuff like the Twilight Zone, but Twilight Zone had the opportunity to go out there and do things that weren't heavily special effects. But this is a heavily special effect show that, in many ways, was trailblazing. They don't want to really give it the credit that they were trying to do with Star Trek.
Hmm. It doesn't get that credit like it rightfully deserves.
Right. I mean, look designs. I mean, look at behind me. The design. Third season, the Klingon D7. I really, honestly, I have to sit back and say that's about my favorite ship in Star Trek because of how it's designed. And look, it was like, wow. And they did this in 1968, 69.
Hmm. And there's just one thing I have to say, since that's your favorite ship, Baron.
Glory to you and your house.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it. I always thought the Klingons were probably a little more advanced than the Federation because their graph drives, which is their version of the warp drives, were so much smaller than the Federation's.
Hmm.
And they're still able to pack all that weaponry. It's like, ooh, I mean, the Federation might have to play a game of keep up, but then again, the direction of where we're going to go. They're an empire, so they have a different outlook than the Federation. But still, I mean, we're getting off topic. I love Star Trek.
I love it too. And the article also has some headlines saying the show's enduring popularity and success can be attributed to the beloved characters of Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and their original adventures. Yet now, current day, they're trying to specifically destroy Captain Kirk because they see him one way, even though he wasn't.
Exactly. And I'm surprised you even said beloved in there because I think even out of Paramount they say the infamous Captain Kirk. No,
They
no,
do.
no, no. No, Kirk is not infamous. You know who's infamous? Khan. You know who's
Hmm.
infamous? Core. You know who's infamous?
Kang,
Koloff.
Kor, and Koloff.
Right. I mean, these are the infamous ones. So let me get off the soapbox here.
These recommended episodes, such as Mirror Mirror and The City On the Edge of Forever showcased the depth of storytelling and emotional resonance. Resonance. My bad. I'll take that error. That Star Trek excels at, which current Star Trek doesn't excel at it.
No.
Although the Star Trek franchise has branched out into many different television shows and movies, everything began with Star Trek, the original series, in the 1960s, which is why every September 8th, I'm going to try to keep doing live streams celebrating.
Back in the
it's that
animated show.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow,
Well,
a twofer.
Mhm. While certain elements of the show can feel dated by modern standards, modern standards, that's another thing that's subjective.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, out of everything, out of all 79, or I like to say 80 because, like I said, they want to turn Menagerie into one episode. 80 episodes of Star Trek. And that's counting the cage. Some people don't want to count the cage because it was
I count
properly earned. I count it.
Just like I count the 2 seasons of the animated series as season 4 and season 5.
Right. Even at their lowest, with especially in the 3rd season, Spock Brain comes to mind. Even at their lowest, they never sunk as low as Code of Honor with the Next Generation, our Shades of Grey, or shall we say, Move Along Home.
Ella Marine. I hate that episode.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, of all those episodes of the original Star Trek, you can't say that it's dated.
No, not when the concepts in those episodes are still relevant today. We still have problems with within our own country of the racial divide. Here we are 57 years later and we're still having issues. I'm not going to get into it here, but we shouldn't be having issues like that 57 years later. Anyways, excuse me. This article says, while certain elements while certain elements of the show can feel dated by modern standards, TOS is certainly still worth watching, especially for those who want to dive deeper into the Star Trek mythos. Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, and his adventures of Spock, Leonard Nimoy aboard the USS Enterprise earned their place in television history and remain fun and entertaining today.
Yes.
While it's true that some elements of TOS may feel dated, the captivating stories, compelling characters, and low budget charm make for the show's shortcomings.
It wasn't a low budget show. It wasn't.
Not for the time. Not for the time.
Quit promoting that lie. Not you, but people like Screen Rant and the others. That's their little backhanded way to lessen it a little bit. It's like, oh, it was such a cheap show. No, it wasn't a cheap show. It was a pretty pricey show of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, they never had the result to having a clip episode because they ran out of budget money.
Even with that, they never had to result in insulting their audience like modern Trek does.
Exactly. Even the worst of the episodes. Yeah, it's fun to laugh at. You can watch it and be entertained that way. But you don't have people turned off completely like Code of Honor.
No. Even though Spock's brain, what is brain, isn't one of the greatest episodes of season 3, you could still watch it and get something out of it.
Right. One of the worst of the original run Star Trek. It really is. But it's fun. It's still fun. You know why? Because they were trying things.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying new things. They're trying to go different directions and where to go. It was still virgin territory, even 3 years in. It's still virgin territory of lore building. And what can we do? Where can we go? And yeah, it might have fallen flat, but hey, they took the risk, which modern Trek doesn't do.
And to say the budget makeup makes up for the charm. Story, elements and compelling characters make up for the show's shortcomings. What shortcomings? It was groundbreaking for its time.
Yeah.
The fact that Lucille Ball put her whole company on the line to help Gene Roddenberry achieve Star Trek. She did. She put her whole freaking company of Desilu on the line.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Trek franchise has endured for nearly 60 years for a reason. And it never would have taken flight if so many people had not fallen in love with Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and their original adventures. Modern audiences may find Star Trek the original series difficult to get into. That's because they're not giving it a chance. If they're looking for something that's, beauty over substance, they're not going to be able to get into it because they want the flashing lights.
The thing is that there is still a beauty to the original Star Trek.
I know that.
There really
I
is.
know.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm just saying compared to modern Trek, where it's like, oh, look at all these bright lights and colors that we have on, these ships. What I call background noise, because that's what shows like modern Trek are, background noise, whether it's Discovery, Picard, or Strange New Worlds. It's background noise.
Yeah, it's stupidity.
And let's see, let me get back where I was. Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, and his ventures with Spock, Leonard Nimoy, or the USS Enterprise earned their place in television history and remain fun and entertaining today. While it's true that some elements may feel okay, I already read that.
Yeah, I thought
the Star Trek franchise has endured for nearly 60 years, and it never would have taken flight if so many people had not fallen in love. Yeah, I already read that. I'm just getting back.
Yep. I think that we pick up where this is modern audiences.
Yeah. Modern audiences may find Star Trek the original series difficult to get into, but here are 10 episodes that will get even the most skeptical new viewer hooked on Star Trek. Shore Leave. Yeah, Shore Leave is a great episode.
Yeah. Again, they were experimenting, because this is one of the episode 15 of the first season. It's still in the experimental phase. Character building. Sulu and McCoy. I mean, this episode had a lot of character building because of everything that was going around with them.
Yep, and Tommy's absolutely right about this. Modern audiences are devoid of brain cells. They stare at phones all day and understand nothing else. Concepts in older shows are beyond their comprehension. Absolutely.
Right. It's like oh, sorry.
And I want to say hello to DJ Ronnie G, who says Star Trek. Yeah, that was something when I first got into Star Trek that really irritated me when I heard somebody call it Star Trek instead of Star Trek. And I wouldn't even correct them. I said, it's Trek. You're going on a trek, a journey. You're not on a track. You're not on a track where point A and point B are usually in a straight line. No, a trek takes you on a journey in multiple directions.
Yeah. And of course, hail to your turtles as well, DJ.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot one thing. Nerd.
Okay. Nerdle.
Nerdle. If I don't want to make him sad. If I don't do that, he's probably going to feel. Is he mad at me?
Trek, Phil. Star
No, there was.
Oh, wait a minute. There was an episode of Animaniacs. I remember, and it was called Star Trek.
And I think there was some, goofy fan stuff that was done too that with Star Trek. Yeah, that's
Sev Trek comes to mind. Sev Trek.
There's Stone Trek too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Stone Trek, and it's basically you take the Flintstones and you put it into Star Trek. So I'm not going to read what they actually say about.
No. No.
Short-lived. I'm just going to go through the list. Mirror,
Yep.
Mirror. Yes, that is a great episode.
Well, look at how much of Star Trek, starting with DS9. DS9 took that and started running with it. Then you had also Enterprise, one of the
Yeah,
best
in the Mirror
two-parters.
Darkly Part 1 and 2.
And makes you wish, boy, I wish they would have, had that next season because they're going to do a sequel to that. It's like, oh, but of course, they destroy it all with New Trek, with all that garbage.
Okay, so at number 8, the Corbinite Maneuver. Yeah, that's a great episode.
I think that's Paul's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Master Paul's. Mm-hmm. And good choice. Yeah.
And honestly, I think this episode should be ranked higher than what they have it. Balance of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
The Galileo 7. Yeah, that's a good episode. I don't know if I would rank it number 6. I might rank it a little lower.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good episode. I don't think I would have put this on my top 10 list, even though it is, again, a good character episode. Because you're dealing with, of course, McCoy, Spock, Scotty, then of course your extras,
Mm-hmm. And Space Seed, honestly, I would not have Space Seed at number 5. You can interchange Space Seed and Balance of Terror as number 1 and number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And The City on the Edge of Forever, I would actually have that at number 3.
Mm-hmm. Some people would have it as number 1, but definitely that episode should not be 4.
No. And The Doomsday Machine.
Yeah, I love that episode.
I would actually have it ranked at number 4 if I'm going Space Seed, Balance of Terror,
Mm-hmm.
The City on the Edge of Forever.
Right. But I love that episode, so.
Mm-hmm. Trouble with Tribbles, it's a fun episode, but I would probably have it ranked at possibly number 5, number 6. Yeah. I would throw Tomorrow's Yesterday on that list of a good episode, because it does give you the question of what would a crew from the future do if they were stuck in the past and they encountered somebody in the past who has seen the future by being on board the Enterprise. It does ask a what if question.
Correct. But again, for being, a more comedic episode, again, it was dealing with serious topics. It's a great, and of course, it's like, it should be taken away as garbage.
Letty, don't you think you ought to rephrase that? I don't think the Enterprise should be hauling garbage. I think it should be hauled away as garbage.
And all the characters, even with, the quote unquote, if you want to call it silliness, but the comedian, it was still in character. And what was so great about this episode is, but Kirk is being befuddled through the whole thing. It's like, it's like everyone knows about this new grain except him. And it's almost like he's left out and trying to catch up, though, is Kurt Russell and Big Trouble in Little China. And that's one of the great things about it. It's not insulting Kirk, but it's like, yeah, even the captain sometimes has one of those days.
Yeah, the captain may not be up to date on everything, because it is a huge galaxy out there,
right? But when Chekhov knows what it is, it's like, that's okay, whatever.
It was invented by a little old lady in Russia.
Yeah, in Leningrad. Yeah.
And number 1, it's a piece of the action. Get yourself a fancy heater, but I don't think it's number 1. I love the episode, but I don't think it's number 1, even with the fancy heaters.
Great episode. It's a great episode, but yeah, I probably would have this on my top 10 list. Maybe I should have come up with my own top 10 list before the show, but who cares?
I should have done it too.
Yeah, but it's a great episode. But I would have taken, I would probably would have taken Galileo 7 off, and I would have probably put I Mud on there
Mm-hmm.
because of the great acting skills and comedic talents of Roger C. Carmel. And again, it's lighthearted, a little lighthearted, but still very serious undertones.
You know what episode I would have thrown on this list? Day of the Dove.
Day of the Dove, another one. It's third season gets so much crap, but it's like that's a third season episode. And Michael and Sarah and everybody in that. Oh, I tell you, that is a great episode. It really is. An Enterprise incident. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's close to coming to the top 10, but that was another. That's where it starts getting hard because you have some of these great episodes. It's like trying to decide which kid is your favorite.
I mean, yeah, I've already mentioned it, and I'll mention it again. But tomorrow is yesterday. It will always have a special place in my heart.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right.
So put that on there. I'll put Day of the Dove on there.
Mm-hmm. Troubles is going to be in my heart because that's the one that really got me solidified into Star Trek, the TV show. But then all these others that come through. Bread and Circuses, another great episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put it on the top 10, but it's close. Patterns of Force.
Yep.
I mean, talk about that episode. I think should have been on there, but I don't think people want it because of the topic on there that they're dealing with. But the thing is that's an episode where you come back and you think hard off of that episode, and you need to watch it more than once to see to try to get an idea. And even then, it's still again, you have to use this. Don't be knee jerk.
No, and that's unfortunately what we get nowadays is the knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm. What was also one of the great things is even when you did have a full-fledged serious episode, like Patterns of Force, you still had a chance to have a believable quip. Like when Spock is saying how Kirk looked good in that officer's uniform for the National Socialists. It's like, wow. It's like, it is believable. It's funny, but it's one of those things that takes a little bit of attention off of a very serious episode.
I mean, another episode they could have thrown on to this list is The Enemy Within.
Yes. Oh, hell yeah. And it does show Shatner's acting chops in there. People want to give a lot of flack to William Shatner. But, you watch, especially with the early Star Treks, he's not like that. And here he is playing two opposite sides of the same person. It shows that Shatner was a good actor, is a good actor.
Yeah.
As is everybody else.
Yeah.
And the contribution. And the contribution that Leonard Nimoy gave into that one. Because, they said that Spock was supposed to hit the evil Kirk. He goes, no, I'm a Vulcan. We don't do that. And that's where they came up with the Vulcan nerve pinch, was in that episode. See, the contribution, even the actors said that. This is my character. This is how my character is supposed to be. They got it.
Exactly. I mean, another episode they could have thrown on the list is Court Martial.
Oh, God, yeah.
Kirk's put on trial, and he has to prove himself.
Right. Which you kind of had a little bit of that with TNG, with Measure of a Man and others. Of course, the trial was a little bit of a different thing. But, yeah, I mean, here you had it there, or even the Menagerie. I don't know if I'd necessarily put Menagerie. I might put that like 11. But what a way to have a quote-unquote clip episode using stuff that was never aired before and reusing a failed pilot and giving a rich, even bigger texture of the Star Trek universe, because you're seeing something that was taking place at, well, I can't remember how many years before off the top of my head. I'm thinking 7 or such. So you're seeing the different technology, how the things a little bit older, and when you're young and you're watching it, you don't realize what was done. You think it was all done right away, and it's like later on you find out what the whole story is, but it still knocks you out a little bit. It's like, wow. Wow, this is impressive.
Another episode I would have put in there is A Private Little War.
I don't know if I'd put that on the top 10 list, but it's a good episode.
I'm not saying I would rank it high on a top 10 list, but I would
Right.
throw it in there on a top 10 list.
Right. I mean, again, not being, it's a good episode. Myself personally, I don't think, I mean, maybe 12, 13, something like that. But again, like, there's so many good episodes out there, Star Trek. There's just so many. And they redid this, okay, if you new Trekkers are out there, the ones that are sycophants for what they're doing, Kurtzman and crap, they did redo special effects. So you can watch the show and have more impressive special effects than what they had back in that day. You have no reason not to, except for one thing. You're afraid. You're cowards. You don't think. It doesn't have a 2-second return on something. You're not going to watch it. Oh my God, they don't have B or C story arcs. The whole episode's all about this. How am I going to get through it? It's time to expand your universe and start using that.
Another episode I would throw on to a list of a top 10 list for the original series is Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. But, when it comes to the original series, anything pre-current year Trek, give it a chance. Watch it. You're going to find episodes that you're going to like. You're going to find episodes that you don't care for, like me with Move Along Home for season 1 of Deep Space Nine. I know folks say, but you still have to watch it because it does help lead to what we eventually get with DS9. Yeah, I know some may say you have to watch it, but every time I see that episode, I'd skip it because it's just not one of my favorites.
Well, you already know what it is, so why you need to rehash it? It's like it's not that important in the lore, really.
No. It doesn't really, circle back to Move Along Home in later seasons, later episodes.
No.
It was just a way of building up the characters.
Right.
I get that.
Which there's nothing wrong with.
No, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with building up characters. That's what makes the characters important for watching a movie or a TV show, is building them up, giving them personality, giving them obstacles to overcome. And yes, there was an obstacle to overcome once Quark realized, wait a minute, this is Cisco, Dax, Kira, and Bashir. And if I make the wrong move, they're dead. And Odo's pressuring Quark to make the right move.
Right. I mean, it's just like Shirley. That was definitely a character building episode. Which is, I can see why that's on that list because it is so good. But a lot of these episodes, though, were good character building ones. I mean, the Corbinite maneuver, you really saw the mettle of Kirk. Balance of Terror, again, you saw his analytical mind, and then it's going up against the other captain's analytical mind. And they're approaching each other. Yeah, they're going as adversaries, but they're not with hatred.
No.
Respect for your enemy, which, again, it's like, think about it. The Romulans weren't the hand-wringing villains that you would expect. They were noble. This commander was noble. And he's trying to stay alive after doing his mission. Kirk's trying to get him. It's a submarine battle, basically. So that's a great one of it. Galileo 7, again, another character building episode. So the many episodes they put on this list is character building. Some isn't. There's good storytelling, like the Doomsday Machine, as they like to call it, Kirk versus Machine. Oh, by the way, the communications officer in there, she was only in 2 episodes. Oh, I was in love with her. The blonde haired, and
I was gonna say, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. No offense to Nichelle Nichols, rest her soul. I thought you were humana also. But
and Paul is back, and he says, "Balance of Terror."
Yeah, great episode. Yeah, Balance of Terror, I think, should be a lot higher than 7.
Yeah. Like I said, it's interchangeable to me, if you're making a top 10 list, you could put Balance of Terror at number 1, or you can put Space Seed at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 1 and 2.
Right. I mean, and of course, like a lot of people do, they want to put City on the Edge of Forever as number 1. And again, it's because it was good storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Assassins, murders. and you know, I'll admit, with that particular episode, The City on the Edge of Forever, when Spock's going through on the tricorder and noticing what changes are being made to the timeline and saying Edith Killer must die.
Right.
Because at that point they've gone back to the past, and they have no contact with the Enterprise because of changes made to the timeline because of McCoy going into the past.
Right. Because he saved her life. That one person was a catalyst.
Murder, death, kill.
And if you haven't find the script by Harlan Ellison, it's still probably available out there, and read it. And that's in it by itself is a great, you can see the different take that Harlan was going with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understandable where he got upset, but the thing is even the bastardized story came out pretty damn good. It really did. What's this?
Now, we are going to go ahead and move on, because I do want to make sure that those on YouTube do get the 3 stories that are the headline of the thumbnail. But we have this article from Cosmic. What? What's so funny? What's so funny?
I said professionalism.
Yes, that's right. Cosmic News has this story: Daredevil Born Again, a scam, claims original showrunner Steven DeKnight. So let me go ahead and post the article over on Rumble. I've already posted it on the YouTube side.
Rumble. Hey, Bucky's Crafting's over there already. Hi, Bucky.
Yeah, she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah,
Thank you for migrating over there, Bucky.
Yeah, she jumped off the YouTube ship.
She says, moved over here. I'm going to be quiet for a bit to get the kids to bed, but I'll be back with my headphones and crocheting. I've had a hard time watching Star Trek without my brother, because we would always watch it together. But as we have grown up, we don't get together much anymore. And she says, I now have headphones and crocheting, so I will be listening, but I'll mostly pipe up when I have a joke I find funny. No problem with that. No problem with that at all. So let's go ahead and get into the meat of this article.
How am I the Hamburglar?
I don't know. I don't know. T-Gap Steve, you okay, man?
I think he and Filoni were having some brownies before the show.
Wow, man.
Oh, that's right. They did make that into a comic too. Yeah, that was a good comic. That was a good adaptation. Robble. I say rumble. Maybe I can go rumble. But let's get to the story. We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, we can do it. Matt McGloin wrote this article. It was posted on Monday the 18th. It says a striker lets loose about how studios undercut actors by canceling shows early. All right, so Steven DeKnight, the showrunner of the original Marvel's Daredevil Netflix series, blasts Disney and says the new Daredevil Born Again series coming to the Disney Plus streaming service is a scam. Well, we all know that. We all know it's not going to be any good.
You know what that means. You know what that means.
What the hell you say?
An actor who worked on the Marvel Netflix shows first tweeted in response to HBO canceling Winning Time after 2 seasons, and it explains studios often cancel shows after 2 seasons to undercut workers. Do I have to post the thread again about how our contracts base wages, raises, and conditions, vacation, holiday pay on arbitrary seasons, and that canceling shows before season 3 rebooting shows and all that nonsense is about undercutting workers. They tweeted, but let's try to get to the meat of the story. Come on, Cosmic Book News. The Twitter user continued with a mention of Marvel's Netflix shows. I worked on all the Marvel Netflix shows, which all were canceled in season 2 or season 3. Our contracts only give us full vacation pay, like 36 cents per hour worked or some shit on season 3 shows. 4 years of work, I never got a raise or vacation pay, like 20,000. Well, you knew what you were signing up for when you started writing the scripts. Come on, Aaron, I can't feel sorry for these people.
No, I mean, yeah, what they're doing is scummy on the studio side. But again, I'm not taking a side in all this. I'm just rooting for it to go 20 years. That's all. I think they all are.
Mm-hmm. The Twitter user added mention of Daredevil and Steven DeKnight, and not only did they cancel Daredevil once, crew got full raise and holiday vacation pay. The Disney Plus reboot is back to season 1. Contract terms, it's a fucking scam. I wonder if Steven DeKnight knows that. And let's see, Steven DeKnight confirmed. There we go. Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes. Steven DeKnight caught wind of the tweets and confirmed he does. And it's an old Disney scam where they slightly rename a series to reset contract terms back to first season. Needs to be addressed by all the guilds, unions, and crushed. Tweeted DeKnight. Yes, but if you know it's an old scam, you're all part of the Hollywood machine. You all know what you're getting into.
Where the hell is your? Oh, sorry.
Again, it's your fault. You are responsible. Take responsibility.
Where the hell is your agent?
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell is your agent? Your agent's supposed to be helping take care of this stuff. Writers and actors. Yeah, you got your union, but you also got your agent. And you pay those people good money usually. Or they get a good little boompa for whatever you get going for a show, a percentile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they're smart agents, they make sure that there's things to protect you because they get protected.
Exactly. And Cosmic Book News has an update. DeKnight added, to be clear, I can't wait to see Charlie Cox and the amazing Vincent D'Onofrio reprise their iconic roles, but to claim this is a complete reboot and you don't have to pay the original creatives is some corporate shenanigans, to say the least. Again, you all know what happens with the Hollywood machine, but you all go along with it anyway.
Yeah, our first story, George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
Yep. A fan also remarked the same will apply to the upcoming Disney Plus X-Men 97 animated series. DeKnight replied, "Oh, it's a sure thing. From what I understand, I'm not going to see a penny from Daredevil Born Again because they added the Born Again and can claim it's a completely different show. With the exact same 2 lead actors who I love playing Daredevil and Fisk."
Well,
again, go ahead, Bear.
I was going to say there's a slight difference with the X-Men 97 because how long ago was the X-Men on? It's been 25 years or so.
Yeah.
So literally this is a new series in that time frame. It's not one of those where it's like, oh, it's been a couple of years, we're going to reboot it. So I'm giving a little bit of credence on the X-Men part because of the time span. But yeah, when you have a show and then you cancel it and then you reboot it a couple, years later, if even that long, that's the problematic stuff.
It would also be like if they brought back, say, Enterprise, and they didn't have certain creatives involved because they added a new subtitle, Enterprise: The Lost Years.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what the actor on strike and DeKnight seemed to be stating is that instead of continuing the Netflix Daredevil series, Disney, Kevin Feige, And Marvel are starting over with a new series, Daredevil Born Again, that resets all the actors' pay scales as well as any payments to the creators behind the original series.
Wh-
And these are the tweets.
mhm. Which also brings up the other question: is the first Daredevil series was Netflix? Yeah, it was Disney's, Marvel, but it was still a Netflix show. So not only do you have that, you also got, what does Netflix have that's involved in this? If they go a certain way, that money has to go to them. If it's a
Mhm.
continuation, because again, this wasn't a Disney Plus show. This was a Netflix show.
Exactly. And the Twitter user also mentioned Law and Order reboot after the original show went like 30 seasons and is a $1 billion brand, back to season one rates and conditions. Crew making less money than the original Law and Order crew did in the 1990s. It's the same story with UAW workers and almost all workers. Yeah. Yet you're complaining about it now. You guys should have been complaining about it years ago.
Right.
Saying, wait a minute, why don't we get residuals? Why don't we get paid for this work
Mhm.
on this new series if we contributed to the original work and this is supposed to be a continuation of the original work?
Because we're in new territory, because this
Hmm.
is streaming.
Yep.
Other stuff was, over the air or on cable or satellite. Yeah, you had, of course, the Netflix series, but again, that's technically a different network if you want to go that way. But with streaming now, it's a different creature that they have to go with. And even, going from like Primetime Entertainment Network to TNT with Babylon 5, there was a change because Babylon 5 was, basically regular over the air. So they had this one pay scale, but the moment they went to TNT, things changed because it now is
Hmm.
a cable show. So they had that problem back in the 1990s and before. Now we're having this with the streaming service. And it's time for that everybody comes up to speed. And it's not just the studios. We're talking about actors and the writers, because what you're wanting, you want to continue on the same game, you can't.
Yep.
It's changed. The field has changed.
And Bucky's Crafting over on Rumble is saying
Oh,
to you, Baron, you're the hamburger because you stole his Happy Meal when he was a kid. She also adds, it's funny because if people wouldn't go with it, they wouldn't be able to do it. They only do it because people still agree with it.
mhm,
Exactly.
right.
All right, so let's see.
Oh, and Tommy has a good one here. Yeah, they license off the characters and such.
Mhm,
But again, but my thing on that is, what were the contracts between them and Netflix?
mhm.
We don't know. We don't. It's an open question I have. I'm not stating a definitive fact, but what is the connection with Netflix? Is there something with Netflix that there was some underlying deal that they had? So that part we don't know, because obviously we didn't see the deal, the contract between it. So
Exactly. And we're not gonna see the deal. We're never
no,
gonna see the deal.
it's not our business to see the deal,
No,
honestly. Yeah,
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying we're never gonna see it. It's gonna be under
right,
lock and key.
right, and other non NDAs. So
Mhm.
uh, they can't come out and say anything with threats of, you don't want Disney to get mad because you shot your mouth off.
Exactly. And of course we know because of the strikes that Daredevil Born Again is not doing any filming at this time because of the strikes. It does say here in the article, interestingly enough, while I was at Comic Con, this is the author saying it. Marvel insiders filled me in that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are retooling Daredevil Born Again to make it closer to the Netflix show. And it says we saw goofier Daredevil and She-Hulk, which should have never been done. They should have never made the character goofier.
No, no, the walk of shame. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it seems that fans are tired of the goofy MCU. I've been saying it for a while. Go back to how the MCU was when Paramount was releasing the movies, the more serious tone.
It's no problem having humor in there, but don't get carried away.
And the article doesn't really have too much to say except for that Daredevil Born Again is expected to release sometime next year on Disney Plus. So when I understand your point that streaming services weren't around when a lot of these contracts were signed, but in the case of Daredevil Born Again, there was a streaming service, and they should have had something written in the contract where if there's ever a sequel series, a spin-off series, then the original creators get some sort of residuals. But in my opinion, and no, I'm not a Hollywood insider, so I don't know all the ins and outs of working in Hollywood, but in my opinion, they dropped the ball.
Right. And it's easy to do because they're looking at so many things. And the landscape has changed in the last 15 years of entertainment. Really, it has. Especially with the streaming services. And now we're going to be seeing the following of many of them and our combining of many of them because the glut. And we're still on the uncharted territories in there. Right now, entertainment is in a flux. Thank God for us on YouTube. Yeah, I'm tooting my horn. I'm great. See, I'm great.
Whether you're on YouTube, Rumble, Quick, Twitch, or any other content creation site that allows you to publish videos or do live streams, we're the new Hollywood. And TGAP Steve says anyone who smashes with She-Hulk would do the walk of shame.
No. I would do the strut of woo. I tap that. Yeah, I tap that. Hey, you know where I'm coming from? You know what I just did? That's me.
I can't even follow that one up.
Yes. Well, it was always interesting to see the ladies doing the walk of shame in Vegas when we're there. You know, like early morning, lady in a fancy dress and carrying her shoes. It's like, yeah, I know what you did.
Yeah. We all know what you did. A little hanky panky.
Yeah. Now the big question is was money exchanged?
Yeah.
Did we do 3 stories? Wow, we did it.
Well. You know, we're actually doing 4. I'm pushing it a little bit. I know we're going to go over the. Come on, Aaron.
We wouldn't. If Cash was here, we'd be all ready to go. I mean, we need Cash.
Cash isn't here. The captain of the ship has decided to steer us a little bit off course to get around an iceberg.
Arr. I like that.
But to get into this story from Cosmic Book News, I just said Cosmic Book News when I meant comicbook.com. You all know what I mean.
Yeah, they're all so much the same. That's why I like belonging in the comics. It's different enough.
Underworld director confirms franchise reboot is still being developed. I'm laughing and coughing. I'm thinking, really, still? Underworld is still getting a reboot, and we're going to find out the details. This article is by Kofi Outlaw. Yeah, my name's Kofi Outlaw. That's right.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that was the name given.
Underworld director Len Wiseman is confirming that there are still plans to reboot the franchise in the works. Why do you need to reboot it? Why? In the form of a TV series. Oh, well, as long as you have Kate Beckinsale, come on.
Hamana.
Today, September 19th, at least at the time this article was written, marks the 20-year anniversary of Underworld's debut in theaters.
And you know what? And Kate Beckinsale has what's her name from the Mockingjay or whatever the series of movies to thank for being the first woman to do these films, to give Kate Beckinsale the opportunity to do Underworld.
Mm-hmm. And it says Underworld's debut in theaters, the modestly budgeted $22 million, only early $95.7 million at the worldwide box office, but became a cult hit for its mix of horror, lore, and superhero action, as well as launching star Kate Beckinsale to certified leading lady mainstream icon status. Well, yeah, I mean,
Well, because of
you-
Jennifer
you-
Lawrence.
yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence. Thank you, by the way, T-Gap.
It says, moreover, Underworld was one of the early 21st century franchise universes built on original IP. See also Fast and the Furious, and has continued to be viable as horror and superheroes have become the biggest box office draws. Underworld's opportunity for success has certainly come back around. I just need to cough for a moment. Excuse me.
He's dying, folks. Send your condolences and flowers to PACIFIC414 in care of Pop Talk.
All right. It goes on to say when EW said, there I go again. Thought I was done. When EW sat down with Len Wiseman to talk about 20 years of Underworld, they had asked the filmmaker directly about the plans to bring it back. Wiseman wasn't volunteering any extensive information, simply confirming that there is a fashion that is in the works. I can't talk about it, but there is a future to Underworld for sure. News that Underworld was getting a TV reboot started circulating 6 years ago, with the earliest reports stating that Wiseman himself would act as showrunner and producer through his Sketch Films production company. When asked whether the TV series was part of the future to Underworld, Wiseman confirmed, "That's the one I'm referring to."
Aha.
When the Underworld TV reboot was first reported, Wiseman also gave a quote that indicated that fans of the films need to be ready for something different, as the superhero action element would not be so prevalent in the TV show. The series will be a pretty big departure from the film, Wiseman said. At the time, I don't want to say it's more adult, but it's definitely less comic book in its tone and character. Wiseman's ex, Kate Beckinsale, has maintained for years now that she's out of the picture, literally stating, "I wouldn't return. I've done plenty of those." When interviewed by Variety in 2018, Underworld's popularity largely hinged on its horror themed lore, which pitted vampires and werewolves against one another in a war that started in medieval times and spilled over into the 21st century. While the character arc of Beckinsale's Celine and her creation in new vampire werewolf hybrids, the franchise itself has always been ripe for a longer form story format that could encompass a larger ensemble of characters and more creative use of different eras, like the story layered, complex, and surprising.
So is this Twilight Underworld now, or what?
I don't know. I really don't know.
There's a lot of word salad in that article.
Yeah, there is. All they had to say is yes. There is confirmation that a new vision for Underworld is in the works. We don't have that much information on it, but there is something in the works for Underworld. That's all they had to say. Something similar to that.
Oh, they had so many words they had to fill, though. So it's like that's just word salad, like technobabble in Star Trek,
And I do want to thank everybody who's currently watching on YouTube and Rumble right now. Thank you very much. So, I'll wait to pass judgment to see whether or not this actually does come to fruition, especially with the current strikes going on.
And how it's executed.
Yeah, but if I want to get my Underworld fix, I'll just watch the movies. Especially if I want to get my Kate Beckinsale fix in.
I just go to Mr. Skin for that.
That's
Wait,
a good way to go too.
are we still on? Are we still on? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Baron. We're still on the YouTube side.
Oh, sorry.
And TCAP Steve says, but Technobabble could make sense, or at least tries to sound like it makes sense if you squint and give the hyphen the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I'll revert the polarity of the neutron flow and see how that goes.
Oh, I'm sorry, TGAP Steve. I should have put up the spoiler warning. She made vampire werewolf hybrids. Spoilers, man. Sorry,
And Bruce Willis,
sorry,
and
not sorry.
And Bruce Willis was dead in that movie.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And Rosebud is a sled.
But yeah, when it comes to Underworld, wait and see. And if anything, if I want to get my Underworld fix, just watch the movies.
I mean, I hope they do something good. Or you do,
I'd like for them to do something good, but with Hollywood's current track record, I don't necessarily think they're capable of doing anything good.
Come on, let's get that track going. Keep it going. Come on.
So, folks, this is the time where we're going to make the full shift on to Rumble. For those of you on Rumble, we're not going anywhere. But for those of you on YouTube, come on, follow us over. You know you want to. Come on. Come over. Come to Rumble. Because we do have a few other articles that we want to talk about. But Baron, before we do that, what do you have coming up on Fandom Legacy?
Oh yeah, and Bucky's crafting's over there also, so you want to join her.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, last Saturday we didn't do our Babylon 5 stream because I was sick and wimped out. But 7 o'clock Saturday, we'll be talking about season 3 of Babylon 5, the first part. Please be there. Again, that's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time on Fandom Legacy. Of course, you'll catch me on these wonderful shows. And what a couple days from now, we're going to be knee deep in rats, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. We are going to be back playing Vermintide over on the Phantom Hooligans. Yes, Cash, we're promoting the Phantom Hooligans, even though you're not here.
Yep.
That will be happening on the Phantom Hooligans. I do believe at some point Cash wants to stream Ratchet and Clank also over on the Phantom Hooligans. I don't know when. You're going to have to ask Cash about that.
We don't care.
And then he also has his video series that he wants to start, the Talking Pinheads. So when that's up, we'll all find out. We'll all find out at the same time. Because he's not telling us anything. It's like, come on, Cash. Come on, tell us the dirt. When are you going to release that first Talking Pinheads video?
Because you got to do it, or else this will happen. We'll do it. We'll do it.
we will. Don't think we won't. But as far as Vermintide is concerned, that'll be streaming over on the Phantom Hooligans on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. That's also 8 p.m. Central.
And I hope Phil's got the game. Even come on, I want him to play the dwarf.
Yeah. Even though when we play the game, he goes little person. Phil, even in the game, they call it a dwarf. Come on, man.
I heard him call. I heard him use the word dwarf. So he's a hypocrite. Hypocrite, Phil.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. But ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to follow Cash Money. Yes, that's right, Rumble. I'm posting his links twice just in case. But please follow Cashmoney007 and please follow Barrett. Now, as far as PACIFIC414 is concerned, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern on both YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and Kick, I will be playing part 3 of The Messenger. I will be trying to get the rest of the game done, or at least close to done. And then Friday, I will be with Cash and Baron over on the Phantom Hooligans. And then Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I will be with Baron, Cash, Lord Crit, Phil McCracken.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be talking about season 3 of Babylon 5.
And they'll be reaching out to Spock to see if he's able to.
Spock, come on. Join us. Do not be like that non-cash money who's not here. Yeah, I know my Londo impression isn't very good, but it's still to the point. Chinkar is not here.
Mr. Get Up All Day.
I love Peter Jurassic's.
Oh, he's great. He is great. I'm glad he's still with us.
Me too. Yeah, follow Baron without him knowing. If he spots you, you lose. Uh-oh. But thank you to everybody who is watching us over on YouTube. Please be sure to migrate over to Rumble and continue the show there, because we still have a few more topics to talk about. But I'd rather talk about them on Rumble than YouTube. You get a little bit more freedom. But thank you to Phil McCracken, Paul of Phantomology, Kathy Skywalker. Baron, I'll thank you after we finish the show over on Rumble. Yeah. I said I'll thank you after we finish the show on Rumble, because we ain't done yet.
Well, I'm not. I don't care. I don't care. You're not thanking me. I'm part of the show. I'm saying goodbye to him. Thanking all these people with you.
Padawannabe, thank you very much. Godzillionaire, the Rich Kaiju, thank you very much. Wow, why aren't you hanging out with Cash Money?
Yeah, maybe he is.
Bucky's Crafting, who is with us over on Rumble already, as is Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective.
Oh,
thank you, Tommy. And that's what I like about having two screens. I can actually see what's going on both sides. And of course, Killy Chow, Roll Tide, Killy Chow. And Nerd, DJ Ronald G. And of course, T-Gap Steve. And let me just check once more. And T-Gap Steve says, but this is like being nibbled to death by Pa. What are those earth creatures called? Feathers, Wombill, web feet, quack, cats, yes, cat.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. But thank you to everybody. Excuse me. Over on YouTube. Appreciate your support of the channel. And don't forget to follow us over to Rumble. So, ladies and gentlemen, away we go.
I love having two screens too. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. We do love you. We do.
Come on over. The party's not done yet.
Yeah, now we get wild.